I think we're on.
I think we may be. So welcome everyone to a very special edition of Wright Virtual Visits. My name is Eric Rogers. I'm the manager of events and communications at the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And this is a special edition because it's happening in conjunction with the Conservancy's virtual conference. So hopefully there are a lot of first-time viewers of Wright Virtual Visits who are joining us today, and we want to welcome you. We are live today simultaneously at Taliesin West with Jeff Goodman from the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and at Unity Temple in Oak Park with Heidi Ruley of the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation. And they are, in the true form of Wright Virtual Visits, going to each give us a little bit of a visual video tour. And then we're going to come back on and talk a little bit about what the last 6 months of this social media collaboration has looked like. So I'm going to disappear here for a moment.
Okay, well, hello everybody, everybody watching just out of Facebook, and to everyone watching the Conservancy Conference. It's really great to join you and be with you and give you a little look at our sites and talk about this amazing program.
Agreed, and we're really excited to share this with you, especially if you haven't been able to view Wright Virtual Visits yet. And it's fun revisiting this with Jeff because this together was the first partnership for this campaign, and now we're back together again. But Jeff, do you want to get started where you're at?
Yeah, I'm going to turn my camera around here. And for those of you who know Taliesin West, I'm standing right outside of Wright's office. And Heidi and I were talking about wanting to share some things that we love about our sites that connect us back to color and light and geometry. So I wanted to start out here because, and you'll notice that I was wearing a mask, and we're all wearing masks here because Taliesin West is reopened for tours.
And Unity Temple is not reopened. Also
under the pergola, which is to show you. Yep, go ahead, Heidi.
That's okay. I was just going to mention that unlike Taliesin West, where you're in the height of your busy season, we are the exact opposite, of course, in Chicago. And Unity Temple was never able to reopen after closing in March. So we're crossing our fingers and hoping that we can all get through this and open back up for tours and programs in the building, hopefully in the spring, but we'll keep everyone posted.
So Heidi, when you were talking about shapes and light, I wanted to come here under the pergola here right outside the drafting studio, because what you get here is you get an example of Frank Lloyd Wright really incorporating one of the natural resources that we have here in Arizona, which is the sun. And so he harnesses the sun in many ways, you know, natural light throughout the spaces. And then you'll see things like these white canvas panels that he puts up outside the drafting studio, which is really about bouncing the light into the spaces. So you see then the shadows that he creates using all these different shapes. You see triangles, you see strips of rectangle, you see this X pattern, which I also noticed shows up in the Oculus and the Guggenheim as well. And then you see them again reflected here on the ground. One of my favorite things about spending so much time up here at Taliesin West is watching the shadows, watching the light in the spaces, and see how they change throughout the day and throughout the seasons.
All right, well, it's okay if I jump in for a minute?
Absolutely.
All right, so Frank Lloyd Wright, as we all know, was a big fan of natural light and bringing nature into his buildings. He believed that the sun is the great luminary of all light. And the wall surfaces here in Unity Temple really take the light and play with it. So I wanted to talk first about his lighting design, his combination of multiple sources of natural light and artificial light. So the upper windows here, called clear story windows, on all sides of the building, allow light to reach as deep as possible into the interior, particularly in the upper levels of the space. It's hard to see here, but if you're familiar with Unity Temple, you know there are large horizontal eaves on all sides of the temple that protect these windows and provide shade from direct sun. The natural and artificial landscaping light, which you cannot see so much now, but at the nighttime, it bounces from the overhangs upward into the ceiling to create a glow. You can kind of see it now, how the light from those clear story windows bounces off the ceiling. Some other thoughts, but I'm going to go downstairs for those. So why don't you go ahead, Jeff?
Okay, so I'm gonna leave here the pergola area, and I want to show on our way back to the apprentice court. Want to show some more of my favorite shadows, and it's gotten a little bit cloudy here, which is unusual. So hopefully you'll be able to see them clearly. But like I said, these shadows constantly change throughout the day. So you can't actually see my favorite shadow, but talking about shapes, this light fixture here outside the kiva with the circular bulb and then the square around it creates a great shadow that starts around here in the morning and then creeps its way up throughout the day. So, and then you'll also see, you know, integrating shapes like these dental shapes off of the roof here ends up creating these really magnificent shadows that again, move and change throughout the day. It's almost like, you know, when you get to know the place well enough, it's almost like the shadows serve as a clock to let you know generally what time of day it is, and then the seasons as well. Heidi, I'm going to climb up a little behind the scenes for everybody here. We're on the other side of the water tower, so you can see a view through here. And I'm actually going to go up here under the water tower and onto the roof, where I can also take my mask off because I won't encounter anybody else up here, I presume, and go up to the roof, and that'll be a spot where I'll kind of position myself for our conversation about the Wright virtual visit program.
Great. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to talk quickly about Wright's compression and release that he designs in many of his buildings. And this is something we've talked about in the past together, Jeff, and how the same concept plays out differently in these two very different buildings. But here we are looking at one of the cloisters, which are mirrored on either side of the sanctuary, and compressed down with a low ceiling height. And even though we have this nice glowing artificial light, it's pretty dark in here. And he accentuated what he called the spiritual lighting journey. And here in our path, the worshipers' state of mind is supposed to change as they depart from the mundane of their everyday lives and then get released from their compression into the spiritual realm of the sanctuary. So I always wonder if that feeling of release is evident when we are on camera, but I can certainly feel it here. We were talking briefly about geometry, and Frank uses geometry just repeatedly in this building, mostly in the form of squares and rectangles and circles. And since we're talking so much about lighting, let me show you one of my favorite points of view. It's right here, because you can see these pendant lights are created from cubes and spheres, and directly above them, you've got the lines that direct your eyes up to the ceiling, and there you see the square shapes of these skylights. And there are 25 skylights here in Unity Temple, and the design is meant to reflect nature with the amber and yellow colors, and then again, geometry with the simple squares and rectangles. And these forms are supposed to contribute to the spirituality because spheres represent the universe and the cube represents the earth. And let's see if you can see it here. Because, I don't know if you can see it, but because light bulbs, the highest wattage you could get in a light bulb at this time was 25 watts, even though Wright specifically designed task lighting. It was still quite dark and people could not read on the upper balconies. So during the restoration that finished up a couple years ago, actually it's 3 years now, some LED lights were installed on some of the skylights. And that actually makes it more of a practical space to be able to read and enjoy the services and programs. And then when the natural light is muted outside, when it becomes dark, the artificial light really takes over, and there's a soft distribution of light throughout the interior and creates that natural glow. And it enhances the concept of holy light in the sanctuary. And if the space wasn't already peaceful and meditative enough, it makes it even more so when that glow takes over. And unlike Jeff, I'm not able to go on our roof today. There are actually 16 separate roofs at Unity Temple, and I really wanted to go up, but that was not possible. So I'm going to hang out here in the sanctuary for the rest of the presentation.
Safety first. And actually, Heidi, something that you were saying, and just to orient you, I'm up on the roof outside of the garden room. No, Eric, you can come back on. I think it's time to start talking about this program. I'm up on the roof outside the garden room, and then you can get a look at the moon gate over there and the landscape that inspired Frank Lloyd Wright off in the distance. I'm going to turn my camera around. I think, Heidi, something that you were just saying really gets to the heart of why we're doing this. When you were asking if if people can really get that sense of compression and release on a video like this versus visiting in person. And I think, the point that I want to make is we know that there's no better way to understand Frank Lloyd Wright's work than experiencing it in person. It's not until, you come to Taliesin West and you stand on the breezeway down there and you feel how he channels the cross breezes to create this cooling effect while framing views in the distance, or until you sit in the furniture in the garden room and really experience this. And likewise at Unity Temple, to really get that compression and release and, burst out of that into this explosion of color and light. There's nothing that compares to that. But we know even in a normal time when we're not dealing with a global pandemic, not everybody's going to be able to come to Taliesin West. Not everybody's going to be able to get to Unity Temple or any other of the amazing Wright sites across the country that are usually open to the public. And during a pandemic, when so many of us had to close down, nobody could come up and experience these. So, while visiting is the best way to experience, there's something that we can all learn and appreciate from being able to have these virtual visits. And so we started the campaign just by creating videos, not live like this, just recorded videos that we then swapped with other Wright sites. So Heidi and I started off, and we each did a video and traded. So Unity Temple posted the Taliesin West video, and the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation posted the Unity Temple video. And what was it, Eric? Like 24 sites we had?
I think something like that. The number kept changing every week, and we had this really terrifying grid that Heidi somehow managed to maintain and update when sites came in or out of the project, which we had to be flexible because everybody was in a different situation as to whether their staff could even access their sites, things like
Right.
that. So, we rolled with it, but in theory, every participating site was supposed to be paired once with every other participating site to swap videos addressed to each other, which, it was a staggering number of videos. I think I finally counted up. It was like 160 videos total that were produced during that first round of the project, which is bonkers. It's so much work that these sites were doing at that moment. And I think it really, it gave people energy in a way, even though it was a lot of effort. It really sustained people. It made all the sites feel more connected to each other in a way that they had not before. And I think, that has been one of the really great silver linings of doing this. is that benefit that it had. I also think, just building on Jeff what you said, there are some things that we can uniquely get, especially from
Hmm.
the second phase of these videos. And I think that's one of the things that we're keen to explore as we continue doing these into the new year, which we do plan and hope to do. Is when you are going live side by side at two sites, even if you're not physically at either of them as a viewer or as a visitor, you can learn so much from how they're similar or how they're different. And to me, in this second phase of live side by side videos, the most powerful moments have actually been the ones that we've choreographed, where two sides moved through a space
Yeah.
simultaneously in a way that showed similarities or differences. So I know, I think in the first episode of this version that the two of you produced, that
Yep.
was something you very intentionally
Mhm.
did. And then I know one of my other favorite episodes on September 17th with Laurent House and Samara side by side. These are two houses that have a lot of similar design touches, down to, I believe, the same fireplace grate. And so showing those side by side was just so cool.
Yeah, and I wanted to back
Yeah.
up just for a minute for those
Go
who
ahead.
weren't so familiar from the beginning, that this started actually pre-COVID. Jeff, if you remember, I think it was August or something of last year. Jeff came out to Chicago and Barb Gordon was taking him around, and we just struck up a conversation about how can we collaborate and help cross-market each other. And although that didn't take off right away, COVID hit, and it was a perfect time to revisit that. And I just the whole alluding to what Eric was talking about, the whole spirit of collaboration, the whole connection we have to each other. I think for many of us, it's the first time we've seen some of these places on screen or met some of the people who operate them. And I think that collaborative effort is more important now than ever. But even once this eventually is over and we can go back to whatever normalcy means, I hope we continue to do this and continue to collaborate, because we're all here for the same purpose, to educate people about Frank Lloyd Wright and to keep these sites, open and preserved for a very long time. So, even though there were some technical issues we worked through and we made some adjustments throughout the two different phases, I think ultimately the collaborative nature of it is what made this really special.
Yeah, I
Or-
couldn't agree more. So this project started with really the three people you're looking at on your screen right now, and I just want to tell everyone watching how what amazing partners these two are to have. We had to work through a lot of logistics on this, technology, scheduling, all kinds of things, and I think it was a dream team, and we worked through it, and then we brought in the other sites, and everybody really just jumped in and operated this with no ego, with a lot of humility. And I think that's one of the things where we're dealing, and everybody has over the COVID period, we're dealing with technologies that we've never done before. I mean, Eric right now is pulling off this amazing feat for his first ever conservancy conference to go all digital. And I don't want anyone to undervalue the kind of work that is. It's not easier because it's not in person. If anything, I would imagine it's more difficult. And then we brought in, all of these other sites, and I mean, we just had some people who maybe didn't think of themselves as on camera people, who just broke out. I'm thinking of Marta at Westcott House, and Steve Sikora, and Linda at Samara. I mean, we just have, like, throughout the Wright ecosystem, all of these stars, and it wasn't about having a high production value. I mean, we're on our phones right now, Heidi and I, and it was really about getting people together who share a passion for this work and nerding out on it together. And I just, one last quick thing I'll say is to Eric's point earlier, being able to do these live side by side tours is just an incredibly unique and amazing way to experience Wright's work, because we know that he's grounded in his principles of organic architecture, and that means he's going to interpretate his design philosophies and principles in different ways depending on um, the site and depending on the time it was built, and what was going on, what materials were available. So to be able to look at concepts right next to each other that are similar ideas but expressed differently, because of how, when, or why the structure was built, is just a new layer in being able to understand Wright's work that we only discovered, we were able to do because we were kind of forced to advance in our understanding of technology because of the shutdown.
Agreed. And then moving forward, we're going to continue the side-by-side phase for the foreseeable future. We've reduced it from weekly now to monthly, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a lot on the people who are operating the sites or working at the sites to be able to get in. Like you said, not all of them are still open, and just to spend the time to produce these longer videos side by side on Facebook Live. But also, as the three of us, we're getting it slightly overwhelmed as well, trying to keep it all together. So we want to keep the quality up there. And so we've moved to a monthly schedule, and we're going to continue to pair up sites. They'll be changing whoever they're pairing with each time they come back, and do some more of these compare and contrasts. So is it the second Thursday of the month, I think, is what we're scheduling?
I think that's generally what we're targeting, though obviously this is an exception. We wanted to do one time to coincide with the Conservancy's conference, and thank you for indulging my request to do that. I think it's so great to be able to introduce this project to an audience that might not have otherwise seen it, but that I think might really enjoy it. It's been really, really great, and it is. There is a lot to manage with these on the technology side. Anyone who's watching me on the Conservancy's Facebook page right now knows I'm dealing with a plague of spam comments at the moment, which is why I keep
Oh no.
here. It's terrible.
Those are the worst.
Please don't click any links anyone posts in these comments. We've had this pop up before, but never on the scale that I've seen it right this moment. So I think we did such a good job of promoting this event that we attracted the spammers, in addition to nearly, I think, 150 or so people that are actually tuning in to view it.
And actually, one thing I would say, on the comment part, spammers, disregard the spammers. But another thing that we were really interested in focusing on for this campaign is bringing you, the audience, into the experience as well. Being able to do these live and monitor the comments in real time, it allows us to really respond to you, to say can we get a look at this? Can we get this angle? Or Heidi and I, for example, are not the end all be all experts at these sites. You might have observations that we didn't notice either, and we love that. So I would ask anybody who's watching now, even if we don't respond to it immediately in real time, put in the comments 2 sites that you would love to see side by side.
Yeah.
So we can take a look at that as we schedule in advance to say, maybe we hadn't thought about, the interesting compare and contrast of 2 sites, but what would you like to see, so we can focus on making that happen too.
I love it.
Yeah, we're always open to suggestions like that. And I think, by doing this only once a month, we have the opportunity to keep this going for quite a long time and explore all kinds of interesting connections and contrasts. And on the technical side, we still, we have kind of an idea for how we might work with sites that don't have good internet access on their sites. We may do something where there's a pre-recorded component that we put into the stream as well. So we're all, learning constantly with this project. But it's, the media attention that we got during the first phase was absolutely incredible. When when even Martha Stewart is writing about Frank Lloyd Wright live streaming thing on Facebook, like, wow, you've kind of crossed over in a way that obviously Wright can and does frequently into pop culture, but we made it with this project, which was perfect. I think people wanted this kind of content when they were in lockdown, and I think that over this winter it's going to be something that people can go back to, which brings up an important point, especially for anybody that hasn't been following all along. All of the videos from our previous installments of this project are still online. They can be very hard to find on Facebook because they were posted in so many different places. And so one of the things that the Conservancy did, starting, I want to say 3 weeks into the project, once we realized how complex this was, is that we compiled all the videos and embedded them on one page on our website. And you can get to that. We keep updating it every week. So this video will be embedded there soon after we're done. The past videos are there. Once we know who we're bringing together for the next installment, that information will be up there as well, and links to all the websites and Facebook pages and social media for the other sites that are participating. So that page is at savewright.org/WVV for Wright Virtual Visits. That'll take you directly to all of this information. And that page is focused on our current phase of the project. But if you look, you'll find a link that takes you to phase 1 that then has that, almost 160 videos embedded there. So there's a lot.
And I would encourage everybody who's watching, when you see a video on there that you really like or inspires you in some way, please share it. That's one of the best things that you could do to support this campaign, our 3 organizations and the other Wright sites across the country. And it's also something that, we believe will benefit your network, the people you share it with. We know firsthand, and I think most of you watching know firsthand, especially if you're participating in the Conservancy Conference, the impact that Wright's work has on our lives. The impact of, being able to be connected to both a beautiful building and incredible nature all at once, that it does something, both inside your brain and your body that makes you a happier, healthier person. And, so we encourage you to share these videos with your friends and family to help inspire them to think differently about, how we can build, live, and stay connected in our communities and the world to be better versions of ourselves.
So
and one other thing, just to piggyback onto what you were saying earlier, your great idea about what 2 sites would you like to see together. Also, if there's anything you'd love to see any of these sites focus on, whether it's a theme like light or geometry. We've had some really interesting themes that pulled 2 very different buildings together. Or if there's something you particularly love about a site that you want to make sure other people get to see or learn about. I mean, we're always looking for content and good ideas. And but like you said, there are a lot of people out there who know some of these spaces a lot better than some of us that even work here. So we'd love to hear from you.
Well, and we've actually had a bunch of great recommendations. So let me just run through what has popped up here. A side-by-side of, let's see, it keeps jumping, of Falling Water and Taliesin together, the Zimmerman and Khalil houses in Manchester, New Hampshire, which are next door to each other and both now owned by the Courier. Or a look into the lives of the apprentices at Taliesin and Taliesin West. Laurent House and the Pope Leahy House side by side, which this came up in our Pachakacha event during the conference last night, what strong similarities there are there. Graycliff and Falling Water. Everybody wants to see Falling Water. We gotta get Falling Water in. They were participants in phase 1 of the every week pre-recorded videos, but internet access is a little bit more of a challenge at the site. So we're going to have to work them in
They are slated for the next, within the next month or two, as well as Great Cliff.
Oh, great. Okay, so maybe we'll make that one happen. So yeah, a lot of really, really terrific ideas coming in here. Yeah, we will definitely look into it and make some of these become a reality. So I think we should wrap up. One of the hallmarks of this project is that these are short videos. This is not a deep dive. It's not a comprehensive tour of anybody's site. Usually there's a very clear thematic focus. Today has been, you know, a little meta. We're talking about the project. You know, we're really grateful to have an audience that has been following along for all of these, and also really grateful to people who are attending the Conservancy Conference and maybe are tuning into this for the first time ever. And we hope that you'll bookmark savewright.org/WVV and check there for recordings as well as announcements about who's coming up each month. That'll always be available. But before I sign us off, any last comments, Jeff or Heidi?
Just a reminder that we are open here at Taliesin West. We have put in some really thorough health and safety protocols, so it is a safe experience to come up here. And we also recently launched a new self-guided audio tour that incorporates Frank Lloyd Wright's own voice into it. So hopefully, if you are in the area or you're going to be in the area, we would love to see you out here soon. And just a last thank you to both Eric and Heidi for being such great collaborators.
Same to you, and thanks for the moment to plug. This is unofficially part of the Frank Lloyd Wright Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy Conference. Unity Temple, during our restoration from 2015 to 2017, was having a documentary filmed during the process, and it has been out now for almost 2 weeks. You can view it through the end of this weekend, November 15th, and then at that time at 5 o'clock Central, there will be a live panel discussion with Gunny Harbo, the documentary producer, and a couple other experts who worked on the project. So if you go to unitytemplefilm.com, all the information's there. And I really think this would be a great audience who would appreciate the panel discussion as well. And same to Jeff and to Eric, it's been such a pleasure doing this project with you.
Yeah, likewise. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna sign out now for our Wright Virtual Visits audience. The next one will be December 10th, and we'll announce who it's gonna be as soon as we figure that out. And for Conservancy Conference attendees, we'll see you all back in the event hub at 3 p.m. Central Time for our next main session, which is about prairie houses for the 21st century. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you later on. Bye.